How would we feel if half of our stock portfolio went away? What if we had a major market crash because we are in a bubble? We need to pay attention double because we are in major, big bubble, double trouble. Wait till you see this data that I'm going to share with you. It is absolutely stunning and astounding. We're also going to talk about silver confiscation. We all often talk about gold confiscation, which occurred in the 1930s, but I uncovered, thanks to some help from one of our fellow basement dwellers, some startling information about when silver was also confiscated. Could it happen again? And of course, we're going to do a big update on the silver price. Hey guys, let's dig in right now. Could our stock investments drop by 50%? Are we in this massive, massive double? Let's run out to the Kobisi letter and wait until you see this. Be prepared. This is not good news. It says breaking. The S&P 500 market capitalization to world GDP ratio officially hits a new all-time high of 46%. I understand just hearing that isn't going to startle you, but when you see the graph that we're going to look at here in 1 second, it is crazy. Over the last 15 years, that ratio has quadrupled. This percentage is now even higher than the 39% recorded at the year 2000 .com bubble peak. Again, this compares the S&P 500, the big index, right? The capitalization, the value of that to the world GDP. Additionally, the S&P 500 now has a market cap that's over 50 trillion for the first time in history in blue. Meanwhile, the U.S. stock market cap to U.S. GDP ratio also hit a new record of 205%. The U.S. market has never been bigger. So take a look at this, guys. We are in massive. I mean, what is this telling us? This is S&P 500 market cap as a percentage of the world GDP. How big is the United States stock market compared to the entire economy of the world is essentially what this is showing us. And as we can see, back in the 70s, yeah, it was around 8%, 6%, 8%, maybe got up to 15%. Remember the roaring 80s when yuppies were, remember that term, yuppies? Wasn't it yuppies? Young, urban, professional, whatever. That was 15%. Then we had this .com bubble. Here, let me draw this. This is so crazy and is a big warning sign. We had the .com bubble. Okay, I'll circle that in red right around here, right around the year 2000. We got up to 40%. Then we had the big correction. Okay, now look where we are, 46%. Okay, guys, look, this tells us only one thing. We have massive bubble being formed right now in the U.S. stock market. We also know that we've got a debt bubble in the U.S. economy. This will not end well. Look, the potential, I'm not trying to be, the sky is falling, bad news guy or anything, but, a lot of people in the United States have blindly put money into 401ks. They've never experienced a painful period. A lot of people my age have only experienced it. Well, I put money in my 401k. I don't have to do any work. Right? I just blindly put this money into the market. Not everybody, but most people blindly put the money into the market. They don't really have any understanding of what they're buying. And it only has gone up and up and up and up. And when we look at this chart, right? When we look at this chart, again, one last time, we are at valuations which are higher than what we had during the .com bubble burst. We could be in for some bad times. I don't think that means bad times for the silver and gold price. Hold on, let me get back to you. I forgot the most important thing. Guys, thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of the basement. Okay, I know through the ups and downs, we always come together. We love gold and silver. It's a big deal you're here. You are welcome here. Share comments in the comment section. Please subscribe to the channel. Give the video a thumbs up. And that's all I'm going to beg for today, okay? Let's get back to this because there's more. There's more. Let's go. Oops, here we go. All right. Man, I was really struggling before I came on this live stream. I don't know what was going on. And then the camera stopped, the microphone stopped. Hopefully you guys can still see me and hear me. Let's go to this from Global Market. He put this as a comment. The AI bubble has grown bigger than the 2000.com bubble. The top 10 S&P 500 stocks forward price to earnings ratio hit about 30x, much higher than the 25x seen during the 1990s dot-com boom. The market has almost never been so expensive. This is from the Global Market Investor. Looks like a Substack, I think. I don't know. Anyway, yeah. Is it a Substack? Why don't I see Substack? Well, anyway, doesn't really matter. Let's go down here and look at this chart, okay? The current AI bubble. Here we are in 2024. This is the forward 12-month forward price to earnings ratio. The green bar are the top 10 companies. Look at that, guys. Look at that, okay? Look where it was at the tech bubble. This is another data point to look at, even if you exclude the top 10. But that right there is the AI bubble. So we looked at the market cap of the S&P 500 compared to the world economy. This looks at the price to earnings ratio, which is a critical metric we use to value the stock market, but nobody cares. Let me tell you something. Unless you're talking about silver and gold, us, nobody else cares. People only look at price. They don't look at value, okay? All they look at is what's the price. What's the price of Bitcoin? What's the price of Apple stock? What's the price of NVIDIA stock? They don't dig in. They don't do what you do, which is dig in and just say, what's the real value behind this? You know why? Because that takes using this thing up here. And most people, not you, right? Not you. You're a digger. If you're here in the basement, I got news for you. Your intellectual horsepower is a little bit higher than the average bear. Okay. You don't enjoy listening to discussions like this unless you're a thinker, you're intelligent, right? Most people just want to watch TV. They don't care, right? All they care about is price. Oh, it went up. Bitcoin went to 100,000. Okay. Well, what's the real value? You're the type person that wants to dig in and find the real value. Okay. The cherry on top of all of this, and then we're going to do a review of where we are with the silver and gold price, and we're going to talk about silver seizure. But the cherry on top of all of this is that all of this overvalued stock market, stock prices, all that alone are crazy, right? We are headed for in real terms, we are headed for very challenging times in the markets. Now, on top of it all, they measure it in paper dollars. They measure the whole thing's measured in paper money. This, right? Federal Reserve notes, which a lot of people would also argue is another overvalued Ponzi, fiat, whatever you want to call it, paper money system. It's really scary what's going on right now in the world. Very, very scary. I know, I know, right? That's why we decide to invest into precious metals. It can be hard. It can be challenging. No doubt about it. Okay. But again, right? Most of these other people, they can't even balance their checkbooks. A lot of them more or less understand what's really going on in the markets, what's really going on in the world economy. I'm not putting anybody down, to each their own. But when we dig in, we're not crazy. Okay, this is real. Let's go out. Hey, we got to go on our daily field trip. It's been a couple days. I think I went a few days without going out here. Let's see if this is real. The U.S. national debt, 36 trillion. Oh boy, interest on the debt, right? Passed over $1 trillion per year. The budget deficit. These things are real. These are big problems. There is no solution to this. Even if Trump and Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy get this under control, right? We're spending $2 trillion more right now per year than we're bringing in. Even if they make some cuts in it, right? They're likely not going to get rid of, let's be real, the federal budget deficit, all right? The debt is continuing to skyrocket. There's no way out. Let's run over and take a look at one of our favorite numbers to check on. Oh, of course, it continues up. The dollar to silver ratio. We've almost made it to 1,100. We'll have a big party, basement dwellers, when we hit that. But again, this ratio is going to show us it was working. Yeah, it's working again. Hold on. So when you're on the U.S. debt clock, guys, if you hover over, like right now, you see my yellow finger hovering over the dollar to silver ratio, it gives us the official definition. The U.S. dollar to silver ratio is the year over year increase in the U.S. M2 money supply, right? The increase in the money supply divided by the yearly world production of silver ounces. So that tells us that for each 1 ounce of silver being produced in the world, the M2 money supply, which measures basically all the bank money, all the liquid money that is out there, is increasing by almost $1,100. Today is the 7th of December. We missed a day. Hold on here. We'll just fix that. And I forgot. Boy, somebody got really mad at me the other day because I put the wrong number in there. 1091. All right, we're keeping a tally here as this explodes. I just want to share with you that when we started doing this back on October 21st, right, the dollar to silver ratio was 729. In just less than 2 short months, we've gone from 729 to darn near $1,100. We'll continue to keep an eye on that. We are not saying that the silver price should be $1,100, but we are saying that the government is printing make-believe paper unicorn fart dust money, and eventually the true price of silver and gold, for that matter, will be realized when the real physical market overtakes the paper manipulated COMEX LBMA market. And just as one more, since I forgot to go there for a day, one more point to show you on the U.S. debt clock, over on the right-hand side near the bottom, below the dollar to silver ratio, we have the paper to silver ratio, which is climbing, not climbing at the rate that the dollar to silver rate. The dollar to silver ratio, guys, as the debt spiral worsens in the United States, this will continue to explode. I wouldn't doubt that a year from now, we're looking at $3,000 or $4,000 of paper printed money for each ounce of silver being produced. If we look at the 5-year average, it's at 1,500. So it's been higher in the past. But if we go down here to the paper to silver ratio, this measures for us the amount of paper make-believe contracts being traded on the COMEX and the LBMA for each real ounce of silver. Again, right, levered to the hilt. So when the real market overtakes the paper market for silver and for gold, for that matter, which is happening right now, happening right before our very eyes, as the Shanghai Gold Exchange, right, the Chinese market for silver and gold, continue to grow in dominance, continue as the Chinese and the Indians are sucking all the physical metal from the West to the East. So when it happens, it'll happen quickly, right? They're going to keep fighting like they're doing now, probably near the end of the battle for the COMEX and the LBMA. And when the physical price overtakes the paper market, it's going to happen very quickly. It's going to be a very emotionally charged period of time for us who, have spent years following the silver and the gold price. What about, let's look at the current price action in gold and silver. I know it's been frustrating. All right, we'll do a review. We're going to look at the charts. Here's what I wrote down. The current gold and silver price action for some can be a little frustrating, but it's necessary. We are in a consolidation period right now. I've read all the top analysts. I've listened to what people are saying, the people that, and everybody has a bit of a different opinion, but there's one big common thread that we're hearing as we look at the gold and silver price. We're in a period of consolidation. We're building a base right now. And we've done that over the last year or so as we've moved up and up and up. We've hit these same periods where we're building a base from which we can move to much higher prices in the metals. Let's go out here. You know what? First, let's go to channel sponsor Pimbex and get an update on the price. I'm going to press the gold triangle, the Pimbex magic button, and see where we landed yesterday. Silver, $30.99. Come on, guys. Couldn't we just bought a little more silver so we got it at 31? We'll say $31 an ounce in silver. Gold, $26.35. Hey, I want to say thank you and recommend that you check out channel sponsor Pembex next time you are looking to buy some gold, silver, or platinum group metals. They're going to give you a great selection of products. They're going to give you ultra competitive pricing so that you will get more metal for your money. Do your own comparison shopping, okay? And on top of that, probably the most important thing is they're a company you can trust. Overwhelming positive response from our community. People sending me emails, messages saying thank you to Pembex for providing such a great service. And before we go to the charts, major warning. I'm serious about this. And this is not a plug for Pembex, okay? But if you ever, please, big warning, you or anyone you love, if you ever decide to convert an IRA into precious metals, there are some highly advertised companies, okay? I'll leave it at that. Highly advertised with celebrity endorsements that offer you these IRA conversions. I'm not going to put any particular company down or say anything negative about these companies, but I will tell you this. Please be very, very careful. There's no such thing. I see some of these companies saying, if you act now, you can get $10,000 of free silver, or $15,000, I think one of them even said. I got news for you, Buttercup. And I say Buttercup because I love you. I care about you. There's nobody that's going to give you $10,000 of free silver. There's nobody who's going to give you $5,000 of free silver. There is nobody who's going to give you any free silver. If you're getting silver one way or another, you are paying for it. And if they're, I'm just saying, and if a company is trying to, let's say, I'm trying to think of a nice way to say this. Well, anyway, look, be careful. Okay, take your time. Don't get pressured into anything. If you ever, because you're usually talking about large sums of money. Look at all your different options. Compare how much actual gold and silver you can get from the different options. Because I'm just going to tell you, and I've heard Andy Schechtman say this, I've heard a lot, there's some unsavory characters out there. Okay. And a lot of times they'll do very confusing things like sell you these off-weight silver coins or gold coins. And when you really do the math and figure out how many actual, what you really care about, right? One of the key things you want to look at, I'm not giving financial advice, but one of the key things that you want to look at is how many actual ounces of silver, how many actual ounces of gold. There are reports, you can Google it, of people that have really gotten bad deals. So long story short, be careful if you ever convert an IRA, okay? Be suspicious. Talk to all the different options. You may benefit from talking to the guys at Pembex as well and seeing what they can do for you in terms of how many of real ounces of gold and silver they can get you for the same amount of money that you may be converting from an IRA. I'm not giving financial advice. I'm just telling you, please, 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 you or anyone you love, always be careful with that. Woo, that was long. I didn't mean to go that long on that one. Let's go look at the gold price and silver price. Oh, it's so frustrating. Okay, this is silver futures on Yahoo Finance. This is down here in the bottom left, you see a 6-month chart of silver, and I saw something very interesting on this chart. Okay, basically from here to here, okay, for the last month, okay, and I'm going to get rid of that, but where I've circled there, remember that, because for the last month, right, from about where my plus sign is to where it is now, the silver price has really been trading in a super narrow range, like basically from in the futures market about 31.50 down to about 30.50. I mean, in a $1 range. And it's weird because if you notice, we've had some volatility, right? Up a buck, down a buck, up a buck. Now, the good news is, that right now we're at 31.50 in the futures market. Okay. So we are on a bit of a back of an uptrend. I want to point out also, we went through some other periods of time like this, like where you see my plus sign there, about another month from about mid-September through mid-October-ish, right before we went on some big moves. If we zoom out a little more and look at it on a 1-year basis, There we go, right? There's that period. See my plus sign from there to there that we've been moving through. We did that back in the beginning of the year. We consolidated. Remember, that was the wedge, okay, that went on for a couple months from about the beginning of the year all the way through the end. So about 2 months where we just traded sideways. So it's not unusual, but I want to point out to you guys that back then, less than a year ago, silver was $10 an ounce less, okay? And since we're here and we like to be positive, happy, good things, don't forget, okay, if we look at the kind of the March, February low and draw a line, do you see what I see, right? Woo! Let's hope for that, okay? Look, it could go like that, no doubt about it. But the trend is definitely up. And when we consider everything going on in the world, the national debt, the demand for silver, everybody I talk to is like, dude, buckle up. 2025 is going to be a crazy year. Now, look, I owe you an apology. 1 year ago right now, I was saying 2024 was going to be a crazy year. It was a little crazy, but not out of the normal crazy. Okay, and that's what we were predicting. I mean, maybe the coil got the spring got coiled up a little more. 2025 is, look, nothing's going away for silver. Mining companies are not suddenly going to be producing more silver. The supply of silver is inelastic. That means not flexible. Anytime there's in at the beginning of the word, it means not. I learned that in Latin or Greek, whatever class in high school. It's inelastic. Okay, the mining companies can't suddenly start producing, and we know that the demand for silver is relatively inelastic also, and they're discovering new ways, new uses. Do you know that silver is like the second most used product in the world from like industrial uses, only behind oil, I think it is. I mean, so we're in for some good runs. Let's go look at the gold price and see what the gold chart is showing us. Gold's looking good as well, guys. We are consolidating again, right? Here's, let's see, we're at 6 month, we're on a 6 month chart. There's that high we reached 28. Looks like we got up to 2,800, right around Halloween, right? Then we went down after the election, and we hit this 25.50. Did gold really hit 25.50? That seems, but it did. But we're really in this range now. What I see on this chart, which is interesting, and we know that what happens to gold will happen to silver, but man, do you see this, right? This descending wedge triangle pattern that's being, that's bad. Darn it. Hold on here. Let's get my eraser out. Whoop, 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 whoop. Okay, we're going to try that again. You know what? I'll just start it from right here. Do you see that, right? That's the wedge pattern, triangle pattern. I don't know, whatever you want to call it, but it makes sense. As we go forward, the gold price will either have to break up or down. So we're going to keep a close eye on that as well. The consolidation periods, this 1 month of flatness, I know it's frustrating, but you hear all the top people talk about how healthy it is in any bull market to have a pullback, right? People selling, people that want to get out. And it builds a new base from which, as we head into 2025, we could have much, much higher silver and gold prices. I mean, I don't know. Do you see silver going to $26? Leave a comment in the comment section. I just don't see it happening, okay? I just don't see it happening. We're going to talk about silver seizure next. But before we do that, I want to say one quick thing and show you guys one way you can protect yourself from silver seizure. Don't forget about the DirtyMan SAFE. I got one hanging right here, right above me. And I tried to put my code on there, Ron10. That says Ron10, where you get 10% off. But this is a nifty product. I was very impressed when they sent it to me. Where you, right? I put a unicorn horse in there. Don't do that. Put things like silver and gold in here. And you can bury this in your yard. You can be like a pirate. It's a safe that you bury in your yard. I think it's a great Christmas gift. You know, right now everybody's worried. What am I going to get this person for Christmas, that person for Christmas? I think the Dirty Man Safe is a great gift for any stacker that you may know. Right. And then they can be like the pirates. Where did the pirates bury their silver and their gold? They buried it in the ground. Right. You be your own pirate if you like. And it's a very, very well made, well constructed. I think they have some patents pending on it. You know, this is not just a couple pieces of PVC glued together. It's much more than that. You can go to their website. Don't forget, there's a discount code. Here, let me show you. I'll show you real quick. And then we're going to get the silver seizure. That's a way to protect yourself from getting your silver seized, because we did have silver seizure in this country. And where is it? Here it is. There you go. There's Dirty Man Safe. There's the code, Ron10. Here's a couple quick pictures. There's the safe. It comes with this black tube. So you dig yourself a hole, put the tube in the hole, then you lower your safe into the tube, then you put the white cap on top, then you cover it with dirt. Nobody knows where it is, and you're like a pirate. You got your own, and it's, you know, safe from fire. You can put spare keys in there, whatever, right? Just, you got to remember where you bury it. I think that's the big key. Okay, let's talk about silver seizure. I didn't know this. We learned some. There was actually silver. So we know about the gold seizure, but there was actually silver seizure. And one of the basement dwellers emailed me yesterday, and I apologize, I forgot the name, and I wish I'd written it down, but you know who you are. Here, so this is an old article, but I investigated this, and I'll show you another data point on this. Silver was confiscated by Franklin D. Roosevelt, too. Okay, the best financial market analysis articles, and anyone who follows the gold market knows that President Roosevelt confiscated gold in 1933 with Executive Order 6102. But in yellow, what seems to have been forgotten is that silver was effectively confiscated as well. I've been involved with silver, and this was written by Paul Behan, for over 25 years, and this fact was unknown to me until recently. Honestly, it was kind of unknown to me until last night as well. In fact, many silver bugs don't even know that this happened. Okay, so on August 9th, 1934, 16 months after signing the gold confiscation order, Roosevelt signed an executive order 6814 confiscating silver. The order is reproduced in full below. It's an interesting comparison to gold. Once the silver had been confiscated, it rose by around 40%, leaving those law-abiding citizens who surrendered their silver worse off financially. Okay, we're going to read more about this. Make sure I got you on the right screen. But guys, I had no idea. We all know that Roosevelt confiscated gold. Where has this been? This may be news to you as well, right? And then we're going to talk about some new laws that are coming out, hopefully coming to your state soon, that will protect you from the federal government potentially attempting again to confiscate your silver. Okay. Here, I'll just read this. This is what Roosevelt did. His executive order 6814, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the Silver Purchase Act of 1934, and of all other authority vested in me, I, Franklin D. Roosevelt, President of the United States, do hereby require the delivery of all silver situated in the continental United States on the effective date hereof by any and all persons owning, possessing, or controlling any such silver, and do hereby require any and all persons owning, possessing, or controlling any such silver to deliver the same in the manner upon the conditions and subject to the exceptions herein contained, such an action being, in my judgment, necessary to effectuate the policy of the Silver Purchase Act of 1934. Okay, you can go read and do some, there were some exceptions, such as silver coins, whether foreign or domestic, silver that was less than 0.8% fine. Okay, but most silver we have now is all 99 fine. Any silver mined. Very interesting thought. Is this real? So I went out to Wikipedia, who I trust, and here's what they said. Executive Order 6814 in August of 1934, President Roosevelt implemented the seizure of all silver situated in the United States with Executive Order 6814, requiring the delivery of all silver to the United States for coinage. So basically, what I get out of this is Roosevelt What he wanted was any silver, not coins, not silver that was in jewelry, not silver that was being used for industrial purposes at that time, but like maybe silver like this. Here, look at this. I haven't showed you silver for a while. That is a nice 3-ounce silver heart that I bought for my lovely wife, Susie, for Valentine's Day a few years ago. As I remember, I think I paid like $70 for it. It had a pretty good premium on it. So silver must have been around $18 at the time. But that President Roosevelt would have won it back from me. Okay. This from how I read that, this beautiful Morgan silver dollar would not have been, can you guys see that? Would not have been required. Come on, focus. These darn cameras. There we go. Look at that. Man, who doesn't love a Morgan silver dollar? Would not have been required. But they see silver. Now, where is it? I've got one down here somewhere. This, hopefully this doesn't screw up, this would have been seized. It's one of the pieces of silver that I keep at the house. That's a 10-ounce, 0.999 silver bar. That would have been seized. Okay, now this was about 100 years ago. We aren't saying that we think this is happening or imminent right now in the United States, but no, who knows what could happen, right? Who knows what could happen, right? They seized gold in the past. They've seized silver in the past. Next, we're going to talk about legislation. This is so important, guys. Legal tender legislation that would outlaw Missouri, right? What are legislatures in Missouri proposing? That they would outlaw any attempt. It's pretty interesting, like how they set up the Constitution with silver and gold and allowing states to have these rights to say, no, we aren't going to participate in this to protect their citizens. First, I want to say thank you to channel sponsor First Mining Gold and Fortuna Mining. Both companies help make this live stream, our group, possible. Fortuna Mining is an operating, producing gold and silver producer, operations in Latin America and West Africa. First Mining Gold is a development stage company. They have 2 multi-million ounce development stage projects in Canada, gold in the ground in Canada. You can learn more about both of these great sponsors at their respective websites, a link to which I'll have in the description of this video. What is going on in Missouri? And I've got an update, okay, with the states that now have legal tender legislation. That is, it's an evolving situation. It's tough for me to keep on top of it, on top of everything else, but I think I have a pretty good list for you. We're going to go out to Mike Mahari. This is interesting, what's going on in Missouri, and I will have another video coming out about this afternoon, but the 10th Amendment Center, Missouri Constitutional Money Act would recognize gold and silver as legal tender. Remember, guys, we live in a country that has a history of confiscating gold, and now, as far as we know, silver as well. So, 2 bills filed in the Missouri Senate would officially recognize gold and silver as legal tender, eliminate state capital gains tax on both, and ban support for any federal confiscation schemes. Missouri is rebelling. We are rebelling. I live in Missouri, okay? But this is happening all across the country. This can happen in your state as well, guys. Senator Mike Moon introduced SB 25, the Constitutional Money Act. Gold and silver would be in yellow. Gold and silver would be accepted as legal tender in physical or electronic form. And we know what Texas, right? Texas is one of the biggest growing, most innovative states. They've got this proposal for basically an asset back for like a gold and silver electronic money system that they want to develop. And they've got their own state depository in Texas. But we're talking about Missouri, electronic form, and would be gold and silver would be receivable in payment of all debts contracted in the state of Missouri. In orange, the state would be required to accept gold and silver for the payment of public debts. Private debts would be settled in gold and silver at the party's discretion. The proposed law would also permit any entity doing business in the state to compensate its employees. Listen to this. In full or in part, in the dollar equivalent specie legal tender. That means gold and silver in physical or electronic transfer form. Wow. You can pay your employees in gold and silver. Welcome to Missouri. We're going to get a lot of people moving here. The passage of SB 25 would make Missouri the 6th state. So is your state, okay, one that has officially recognized gold and silver as legal tender, okay, as they should have always been doing that. Utah was number 1, okay, reestablishing constitutional money in 2011. Utah was the trailblazer. Now we have Wyoming, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Louisiana. Now it gets even more interesting. Senator Rick Bratton introduced Senate Bill SB 194 with similar provisions, but in addition, all right, it would ban the state from accepting CBDC, central bank digital currency. I'll talk more about that, but banning CBDCs in Missouri and would require, this is crazy. Wow, Missouri's going off the rails with gold and silver. Would require the state to hold gold and silver equal to or greater than 1% of state funds. It would require the state of Missouri treasurer, let me look you in the eye when we talk about this, to hold physical gold and silver. It kind of sounds like a little bit of a move back to the gold silver standard to me. I mean, think about that. We're talking millions and millions of dollars. Right, the state of Missouri. Don't forget, people think, "Oh, Missouri," and it is. You know, I like it here, but what does that tell you? Anyway, Missouri's a big. I mean, we have St. Louis, right? We have Kansas City. There's Springfield. There's St. Louis Missouri is a big state. There's a lot more money in Missouri than you may realize. Let me remind you of something also about the Federal Reserve banking system. Missouri, as far as I know, is one of the only states, if not the only state, that has not one, but 2 Federal Reserve banks. There's St. Louis Federal Reserve Bank and Kansas City Federal Reserve Bank. And think about that. That same state is proposing, right, like what I think is some groundbreaking legislation about gold and silver. How do you think the guys at the Fed, the guys and gals at the Federal Reserve banks in Missouri feel about that? I bet they're not real thrilled. Okay, back to this. We'll wrap this one up. Oops, sorry about that. Okay, in practice, passage would allow Missouri residents to use gold or silver in physical or electronic form as money rather than as mere investment vehicles. You can use gold and silver for what they really, truly are, money. Article 1, Section 10 of the Constitution for the United States expressly prohibits from, quote, anything but gold and silver coin, making anything but gold and silver coin a tender in payment of debts, okay? And let's go down here. Removing taxes. Both these bills would also exempt the sale of gold and silver from the state's capital gains tax. Missouri is already one of 45 states that do not levy sales tax on gold and silver bullion. That just blows me away that some 5 states still charge sales tax on silver and gold. The best example I can have of that would be like if you went to your bank with $100 bill and say I want 520s, and they said, well, sorry, we're gonna have to charge you sales tax on this, right? I mean, you need to give us $106 or $108 to get $520 bills. Just completely unbelievable. Imagine if the IRS sent you a bill. Then they talk about, okay, they also exempt bullion from capital gain, or exempting the sale of bullion from capital gains tax. Guys, I know I'm an accountant, so it's second nature to me. There's obviously a big difference between sales tax and capital gains tax. Sales tax is just that percent you pay anytime there's a transaction that occurs. Capital gains tax is a tax you pay when something you own goes up in value. So if you buy a stock for $10 and it goes to $15, you made a $5 profit, you would owe tax on the $5 profit that you made. That's a capital gains tax. And exempting, paying capital gains tax on gold and silver is insane. It's like paying capital gains tax on dollars. And that's what he says. Imagine the IRS sent you a bill every time the dollar strengthened against the euro. That's effectively what a capital gains tax and gold and silver do. So the sales tax was the first to pretty much get wiped out. The next here is the capital gains tax because it makes no sense. Federal confiscation schemes, SB 25 includes provisions prohibiting any state or local cooperation with federal actions to confiscate gold or silver or that interfere with a person's right to use legal tender in Missouri. So there you have it, guys. Okay. Big changes coming, right? There's so much. We are in this ultimate bubble economy right now. And at the same time, there's this movement going on, like this ultimate fantasy world, bubble, paper, debt driven. It really is. I mean, like the best way to sum it up is like it's like a fun house or like a fantasy world economy that we're living in. But at the same time, there's a strong group of what I would think solid-minded people that are kind of leading the charge, and I would include you in that. I think I would include myself in that too, that are leading the charge towards this real money. Gold and silver are coming back. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a very interesting ride. Thank you for being here. Okay, thank you for being part of the basement. Oh my gosh, hold on here. I almost forgot. My Lord. Hey, thank you, Silver Sparky. Silver Sparky gave a super chat. Thank you, my friend. Good morning, family. Thank you. Thank you, my friend. Hey, Frank. Boy, I almost forgot. If I ever forget one of your super chats, email me and yell at me, okay? When trust runs out, so does its value. Interesting, Frank. Wow, we got to talk about that, Frank. I like that. When trust runs out, so does its value. At the end, fiat money returns to its intrinsic value, zero. That's from Voltaire. Yeah, right? Like this stuff, this paper money, look, I'm brainwashed. I grew up, I was born in 1970 right here in St. Louis, Missouri. This is paper, right? There's nothing more. It's based on nothing but confidence and trust. And what do we know? What has history taught us, right? Any form of money, electronic, paper, you name it, has eventually gone to zero. Now, sure, that paper money still holds some quote unquote value right now. But if we look at history, it always goes back to zero, right? It's like the fact that like with cryptos, all people look at is price. Price. Look, the price of Dogecoin, the price of this crypto, that crypto. There's a new crypto out that they come out all the time. And it's just price driven, not value driven. Gold and silver investors are value driven. All right, guys. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Frank. Thank you, Silver Sparky. Everybody have a great day. Okay. I'll see you soon. Thank you. Thank you.